Do you have anything to say about the passing of Steve Jobs? Were you a fan? Is there any Naomi Klein lens for analyzing his work?
Well, yeah, I wrote about Apple a fair bit, actually, in my first book, in No Logo. I wrote about their use of revolutionary imagery. The Think Different campaign was one of the examples, really, of
for the Mac.
Yeah, and the creation of lifestyle branding and the co-opting of revolutionary movements of the past. You know, the image of Gandhi, Think Different. The image of Martin Luther King, Think Different. And it was funny because the other thing I wrote about in the book was the rise of ad busting and culture jamming, and as there's emerged a movement of young people that came to world attention in Seattle, you start to see these ad busts or culture jams of the Mac ads, where you'd see young people rising up and it would say, think really different. But that said, you know, I learned how to use computers on a Mac, and as an untechy young woman, I really appreciated the fact that this was a friendly computer to me. But I think these protests around the world are empowered and enabled by technology that Steve Jobs popularized and made available. At the same time, they also are speaking to a desire among this generation that grew up so plugged in and glued to their screens to connect with each other in the real world. And that's the contradiction of Steve Jobs. This is a Buddhist man who gave us the tools to be less in the moment than anything else. I say that as, you know, an addict.
You know, an early New York Times article on Occupy Wall Street ended with a kind of dismissive reference to all these young protesters sporting Apple products and having no idea where they came from. Is there something in there we should be talking about today?
I do think we should be talking about the built-in obsolescence of these technologies. And I think we need to identify what it is that we do love about them and we do need about them. But it doesn't have to be a package deal. We should not have to buy, you know, a new phone every year, a new computer every 2 years. It's outrageous.
Invented in America but made in China.
Yeah, and with natural resources that are finite and are extracted from countries like the Democratic Republic of the Congo, amongst enormous conflict. We need to talk about the downside as well, and we need to, you know, we can have more power in these equations. So we can take what's good and we can say we want to be able to fix them.
And maybe good to remember that most of the world cannot afford an Apple anything.
That's true. That's very true.